Judicial Analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. Here we go, Judge.
All right, so we have a couple of sources of authority here. The Constitution clearly says the president is commander-in-chief of the state militia, today the National Guard, when it is addressing an insurrection or rebellion. The Insurrection Act of 1807 says the same thing. The Posse Comitatus Act, basically the Latin phrase for the power of the county, the power of the local government, says the military cannot be used for ordinary law enforcement unless requested by the governor of the state. So you have these various laws that are a little inconsistent here. Can the president call in the National Guard when when federal assets are at stake? Yes, that's the reason for calling them in. What are the federal assets? The ICE people, the human beings on the ground, are being attacked. Are National Guard trained to do law enforcement? No, they're not. They don't know how to arrest. They don't know what to do when arrest. So their basic role is to be backup to ICE, who are trained about who to arrest and how to arrest. Can Gavin Newsom sue? Well, anybody can sue for anything. I don't think he's going to prevail here. I don't think he'll find a federal judge anywhere in California who will enjoin what the president just did. All you have to do is look on the television, as we've been showing all morning. It's obvious that a great amount of force is needed to quell this disaster.
Although if you're probably a liberal judge, you're not watching this network, so you're not seeing that. You're hearing peaceful protests. Okay, so now this is where it could get tricky, though. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said he's got about 300 Marines on standby if the violence continues, active duty Marines. That's different than the National Guard and could involve Posse Comitatus. I had to say it because I teased that I would try to say Latin.
Right,
which basically prohibits,
you pronounced it properly.
Thank you. Which basically prohibits active duty forces from enforcing domestic law.
I'm going to assume, knowing the Secretary of Defense from our prior work together, he was just trying to send a message. He knows the law. It would be absolutely and profoundly unlawful for the Marines to come in. They also are not trained in law enforcement, and it would be not only unlawful for them to do it, it would be dangerous for them and dangerous for the people in the streets. Look, the purpose here is to use federal assets to preserve law and order and peace in the streets in a time, place, and manner where the state is unable to do so. Gavin Newsom says, you didn't give us enough time. No judge is going to second-guess the president on this. There will be lawsuits. Here's an example. Somebody will be arrested by the military, and then they'll be prosecuted. And the lawyer will say, well, it was an unlawful arrest because the president didn't have the authority to have the military arrest us. And then a judge will resolve us. Not today, not tomorrow, but months from now when that person is charged.
And typically in situations, and I remember back during the George Floyd riots, even when the president threatened to use or to bring in the military to help restore peace, it was mostly in a support function. So you still have National Guard, you still have police, sheriffs, others out there doing the frontline police work that are being supported logistically.
You're 100% correct. And actually, if you talk to law enforcement, that's what they want. They don't want the troops on the very front line because they're not trained, as I said, as law enforcement people. You want them as backup. You want their physical presence there to deter the rioters. You don't want their force used against the rioters. That's the optimum use of the troops.
So this is not going to be a good thing for Gavin if he tries to sue, probably. Real quick.
I don't think so. And I don't think Tom Homan's going to arrest Gavin Newsom either.
No, because even if he's saying...
Well, he's not committing a crime.
You've got to actually physically obstruct.
Correct.
Yes, neither of them are doing it right now. They're just incompetent.
Correct. His freedom of speech is protected just like yours and mine.
There we go.